Hi, welcome. Today, I'm going to do a short segment on gentle yoga basics. For those of you who may be new to yoga and are not sure exactly where to start, and maybe chair yoga seemed a little too tame for you, and that's fine. This is gentle yoga. So it's like, what is gentle yoga? It is like a step below a basic beginner class. Nothing wrong with that. For many people, depending on what goes on in their body and life, they're just not ready for what can become a more challenging beginner level yoga. And so this is a gentle version. Many of the same poses, most of the same poses that we do in beginner yoga, but just a little slower, not held as long, and with the use of more props. And in yoga, props are basically your mat, okay, a blanket. In this case, I'm going to use a chair, but if you have a spare wall, you can use a wall. As a matter of fact, in the gentle yoga class I teach at the Yoga Center of Columbia, we line up like in a U around the room with me up at the front of it, so they can all have wall space to do a lot of the standing poses with more support. Okay, so that's why I'll be using the chair today, because my camera won't go into the wall because of furniture here. Okay, so if you don't have a blanket, if you don't have a mat, please be sure that you're working in your bare feet on a non-slip surface, like a good rug, perhaps, or if you have those little socks they sell that have grippies on them, you could use that on your floor. Okay, and as far as a blanket, yoga blankets are always a little thicker and a little more supportive. This is a cotton one. You can get Mexican blankets, but some are really, really thin. It's okay, but you just want to be able to fold it so that you have about an inch or so of height that supports you when you're sitting on the ground. So I'm going to do this one from the mat on the ground, on the mat and sitting on the ground, and then use the chair for wall support. And some of you, depending on who you are and where you are, you may not need the chair at all, and that's fine too. All right, so let's get this thing started. So you're sitting on the floor, which can be challenging. So as you sit, we want to open the hips a little more. So crossing the shins, now these are your shins, the front of your lower legs. So you cross the shins, and then we're going to open the hips. The tendency when you're sitting like that is to be like that. That's how we sit all day long. So from the side, it looks like that. Yeah? We don't want that. That's not good. That collapses the front of the body, meaning these muscles are tight and weak. It overstretches the back muscles. They're too long and weak and tight. You know, this is tight and weak. Not good. So we want to be open and strong. So crossing your shins, this is called simple seated pose, Sukhasana, which is Sanskrit, the language of yoga. So every yoga pose has a Sanskrit name, or most of them do, and an English translation. So this is simple seated pose. Okay, now we want to open the hips. So you're going to lean over to your left hip. Now, in yoga, you want to become familiar with your body. So you're going to take the left hand, reach it into the upper inner right thigh. Your right hand, you're going to reach and find your sit bone, your buttock bone, and your glute, your buttock, yeah? And so what you want to do is you're going to internally rotate the upper inner thigh, take the hip back, and set it down. So that hip is comprised of the buttock bone and the buttock, well, the hips on the side, but we're talking about taking the glute area back, and the sit bone back to open the hip. All right, we do the same thing on the other side. So now, before we do it, just take a look. When I opened up this right hip, the knee came down, you see? And that's going to be opening into the hip joint. So we want to lean over to the right that we just opened, internally rotate the upper inner left thigh, take the buttock and buttock bone back and out and set it down. And then you're going to be sitting up taller, which is what we want. We want the crown of the head right over the pelvic floor. Right? The base of your torso, the base of your pelvis, the length. We want as if there were a little column of energy From a yoga standpoint, there is, from the crown of your head all the way through your body. And that energy, we want it to move smoothly and fully. All right, so that's your basic sitting upright. And then you can place your hands on your thighs, but I choose in gentle to ask you to put your hands to the side, which makes you use your core and your back muscles more. Okay, because it keeps us from, again, slumping down. Now, if that's too much for you, place your hands where they're comfortable, and right here, find your chest bone or breastbone and your collarbones. And you can even put hands here and just press the chest bone and the collarbones up. And then right here in the ribs, you just take them back. You slide the ribs back a little bit, and that puts you in a neutral spine. Those are subtle moves, and we will continue to work those. But that, just getting the general idea is good to start. All right, so then we're going to start with just closing the eyes for a minute, focusing on the breath, and then we'll chant Om, which you may or may not want to do, and that's okay. Okay, so put your left hand, if you're able, no shoulder issues or anything, put your left hand on your heart center, right here in the center, and your right hand just above your belly button. And if your elbows are like that, not too comfortable. So can you have the hands here and allow your elbows to soften down? And if that's not comfortable, hands on your thighs. All right, and then we'll close the eyes, and if you want to keep them open to watch me, that's just fine. So with this, what we're going to do is breathe in and out through the nose. In yoga, we inhale and exhale through the nose. And of course, if you're congested, that won't be possible. But if you're inhaling and exhaling through the nose, it warms the breath, it filters the breath, your nasal hairs, and it slows the breath down so that, and that's what we want in yoga. When we're stressed, when we're feeling tension, there's a tendency to be breathing more up here in the upper chest, and it's constricted, it's like you're not getting all of the energy that we want into the body, and you're not feeding all your internal organs as well. So we want to be able to slow the breath down, which will make it go deeper. Yeah? And not through trying, but just through letting go of trying, just breathing and noticing. So place your left hand here, right hand where I have mine, and then close your eyes or simply soften them and watch. So on your inhale, breathe through the nose. Notice what you notice happens in your body as you breathe. There's movement. And then as you exhale, again, notice where you feel the movement. This is simply mindfully noticing. So a few breaths at your own pace. Inhaling. Where do you feel movement? What does it feel like? How does it feel? And exhale, letting go of the breath. Each inhale brings in fresh energy. Each exhale, once we've used and are using that energy, we can let go of the breath itself and send it back out for recycling. So nice gentle inhales and exhales. And just a few more times, noticing whatever you notice. Good, then after your next exhale, please release your hands down and then bring them to your heart center, palm to palm. This is a gesture of centering, of thankfulness, gratitude, of connecting, of community. It's like one hand represents the body, the other the mind, and they come together at the heart. And yoga is about yoking, bringing together all parts of ourselves. That's what it's all about. Simple as that. All right, then if you'd like to close your eyes again, we're going to chant one Om. All right, Om is the sound of all of life. It's a vibration. Ah, U, M. All those 3 little syllables mold together, meld together, so that you have one vibrational sound. And those 3 syllables, ah, U, M, represent beginning, ah, middle, U, M, the end. So it's like all of life. Everything has vibration, pulsates, begins and ends. So, in preparation, please exhale fully and then inhale. Then exhale one more time And after your next inhale, please join me or simply listen. And then after your next exhale, release your hands to your thighs, softly lift your head and open your eyes. Okay, good. Now notice what leg's in front. Left leg is in front. All right, so stretch your legs out. And then sitting like this with your legs in front and your feet so that the toes point straight up towards the ceiling and your hands behind you or beside you. This is called staff pose, seated staff pose, and this is called Dandasana in Sanskrit. All right, so once you're there, that feels good, but let's try something else. Just let go a little bit and just move your legs back and forth. We call these windshield wipers. And you're just moving into the legs, into the hips. It just feels really good. Okay, now, cross your legs in your second favorite way. So in my case, the left leg was forward first. Now my right leg is forward. I'm going to move this out of the way for a minute. All right, so we'll do some opening to the side body so that we can get some length to help us be more upright. Also that we can come into these secondary breathing muscles. Primary is your diaphragm. And then on the sides, these little muscles between your ribs allow you to breathe more too. So we want some space in there. Take your right fingertips to the earth, turn your left palm up. Take a nice breath in, take your left arm up, and I like to keep the arms in what I call T. There's nothing wrong with this, but I like being here because it makes me use the upper arm a little bit more, at least it feels that way to me. You go wherever you want to be. And we're lengthening both sides of the body, but especially from the left armpit to the left hip. We're getting lots of space here. Good. All right, then inhale, come back up, arms in the T. Exhale, left hand down, right palm up, because that's better for opening up your shoulder. And we'll come over to the left this time. So we're just doing a few breaths here. Good, then we're good. We will do it 2 more times at your own pace. I'll cue it, but you can move at a different pace if your breath moves differently. So inhale, I come back up. Exhale, right hand to the earth, left palm up. Inhale, I come back up. And exhale, left hand to the earth and right palm up. And one more time, inhale up and exhale to the right. And you can bend the elbow if you want to go a little deeper. Just keep this left hip grounded to the earth. It wants to lift up. We want to stay connected to the earth. That's very grounding, very supporting. Inhale one more time and exhale to the left. Good, inhale all the way back up, bring your hands back down. All right, so that feels nice. It just sort of is opening up the side body. And now we're going to switch the cross of the legs again. And this time we're going to do an opening twist. Now, it's early in the practice, early as we're moving. So we're not going to do, many times with twist, this is called a bind, when we bring the arm cross body and create a closed loop. Okay? But what tends to happen, especially when you're first starting out, is that this shoulder rolls forward, left shoulder rolls forward, and you're more leaning and pulling yourself with a hand here. So instead, we're going to sit upright, inhale, bring the left hand palm up so that it's inside the right knee, and you press, like left knee, you press against the left knee to lift upright. Then as you exhale, you twist on the axis of your spine to the right as you gently press in, left hand against left leg. Good. Inhale, come back. You can bring the arms to the T again. And then exhale, right palm up, left hand back behind you, twisting to the left. Good, and we'll do that twice more. Inhale again with your breath. And again, if it's different than mine, you move at your own pace. Exhale, twist, left palm up, right hand back by your right hip. Inhale back. Exhale, twist to the left. And one more time, inhale up. So we're using our core here. The other reason not to bind is when you bind, you tend to pull. But now you're having to use your whole core and back muscles to do the twist. Good, inhale one more time, and exhale, twist left. Good. Inhale back up. Exhale, bring your hands back down. We're going to do a quick foot warm-up. Now, I like to, when I do this, I slide off my blanket so my sit bones are flat on the floor. See what feels okay to you. All right, I invite you to cross your right ankle above your left thigh. If that's not accessible, you can cross wherever you can. You just have to be, you want to be more upright so that maybe you can reach your feet. And if you can't, then you can work your feet without holding your left hand against your right foot. You're just going to be doing it slightly different. Yep. All right, so now take your left fingers, interlace them through the toes from underneath. All right, and then you can have your hand on your right leg or down behind your hip, beside your hip, whatever you want. So first thing we want to do is rotate the ball of the foot. That's the joints, the bones underneath of the toes themselves. All right, you're going back and forth. We want that mobile because you need that mobility in your foot when you walk. All right, then you can make little circles in one direction and in the other direction. Come on back and spread your toes nice and wide, and then lining up the knee with the ankle and toes. Not like that. That's pulling too much on the outer ankle. We call that a sickle foot. We want the foot to line up with the knee. All right, then you're taking the toes towards the heel to stretch the top of the foot. Press the toes away to stretch the bottom of the foot. That's your fascia, your plantar fascia. If you've ever had plantar fasciitis, it's going to feel really good. Come on back and do the toe turn and pull as gently or as vigorously as you want. This is creating space in the joints. Then take your thumbs along the bottom of the foot, your fingers across the top, and like you're pulling taffy, you're massaging the sole and the top of the foot. And why do we want to do this? Your feet are your connection to the earth. We walk about, I don't know, 65,000 miles in a lifetime. That's a lot on these little tiny things that hold up our entire body weight. So we like to treat them nicely so they stay with us and in good shape as we get a little older. All right, then clap, drum roll, compassionate pounding. We don't want to hit so hard that it hurts. This is a gentle. You have a closed fist, and I have the inside part against the foot. All right, and then you can take your knuckles and go back and forth along the sole of the foot. Call this one the noogie. Yeah, like your noogie. Had to be born at a certain time when that was a big thing, I think. All right, and then if you're able, you can wave to your neighbor. You're not trying to move your foot. You're letting it hang and seeing how much mobility you have in the ankle. All right, then let's do something for the hip, sometimes called hip, hip, hooray. Okay, good. Then stretch out the right leg and just take a look at the difference in the color between the 2 feet and legs. And then also look at the veins on the top of the feet, and you'll see the right side, it looks brighter. The foot looks more relaxed. The veins are softer. They've had some energy to them. They've moved back into the leg a little more into the foot. Then look at the blue veins on the top of the left one. They're on the surface. They're just kind of hanging out there. We've relaxed one, so let's do it to the other. All right, so cross your left ankle over your right knee, your right thigh, and then interlace your fingers from underneath through the feet, through the toes. All right, so now just notice, have you done that? Can you sit more upright again? Lift up the breastbone and the collarbones as you do the little bit that we're doing. Oh, let's do the mobility first. So back and forth with the ball of the foot. And then a little bit of ankle circles in one direction and the other. Coming back, spread your toes as much as you can. All right, and then line up the toes with the knee so that you take stretch across the top of the left foot, press from the bottom of the foot along the bottom, the balls of the feet, and stretch the plantar fascia on the left. All right, coming back, toe, turn, and pull. Gentle or vigorous. Massage, thumbs on the bottom, fingers on the top, back and forth and back and forth. Clap. Drum roll. Compassionate pound. Good, and noogie, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All right, and then wave to your neighbor and a little hip opening here. So we warmed up the feet, the legs, and the hips. All with that. All right, and then you can do this again. All right, so now we're ready to do a little bit more work, yeah? All right, so we're gonna start out with some cat-cow tilts, okay? So if you have a blanket, now if you don't have a blanket, you can also use a really thick towel if you don't have a yoga blanket, or a really thick blanket that gives you some support. And you always want support when this is the table position, so that your hands slightly forward of your shoulders, knees slightly back of the hips, and as wide or slightly wider than your shoulders and hips. So this is what we call table. Kind of looks like it, right? Now, if you have the toenails down, there's not much happening in the backs of the legs. So can you turn the toes under? And if you can't, you can be on the toenails. But see if you can turn the toes under. That's going to lengthen all along this back of the calf and the Achilles tendon down here, and also the sole of your foot. All right, so cat and cows, we're going to initiate from right the tailbone and the heart. So this is a little back bend, and it's done on the in-breath. So as you inhale, tailbone comes up, heart lifts just a little bit, and you just look in front of you about 8 inches in front of your fingertips. And then as you exhale, lift the back of the waist a little bit and look down between your thumbs. Now, sometimes people will do it with a big back bend. That's jamming my neck and shoulders. Can you hear it in my voice? It's all strained. And then they puff up into the shoulders because that's what we're used to doing. And my throat is restricted here. So you want to try to keep that same idea, crown of the head more or less in line with the pelvic floor. And you're inhaling just a little bit. Shoulder blades stay on your back where they are when you started. Sit bones open. Sit bones are here. Shoulder blades are here, the tips especially. All right, so the inhale, and then as you exhale, you lift the back of the waist a little bit. That's going to use your core muscles more. So inhale and exhale. Inhale, cow is a back bend. Exhale, cat is a forward bend. All right, so after a few of those, the next thing we're going to do is we'll inhale to the cow. Then we're going to walk the fingertips, we'll come up with fingertips and walk the hands forward, and then shift the hips back about 3 or 4 inches. And maybe your ears line up with your upper inner arms, maybe they don't, but this is what's called downward facing dog back. Downward facing dog from your fingertips all the way to your sit bones. There's one nice long line, all right, and that's called extended puppy. So on the inhale, I'll bring my hands back to the table position, palms on the earth, as I inhale in cow. Exhale, fingertips forward, puppy. Inhale, cow. Exhale, puppy. And one more time. Inhale, cow. Exhale, puppy. Good. So those are some what's called dynamic warm-ups. We inhale and exhale and move through a warm-up sequence. Now we're going to come just for a breath. You'll turn your toenails down, bring your big toes together, separate your knees a little bit, bring your hands back, stack your fists, and you can place your forehead right between your eyebrow area, sort of on the forehead, on your fist, and this releases the head, neck, and shoulders. Then you just take a few breaths. And this is called resting child's. And this is active child's. So this is active puppy. This is active child's, which is a little deeper forward fold. So either way that you do it is just fine. These are just variations of similar poses. All right, now we're going to do some lunges. All right, so I'm going to come back to the table. And this is where I can use a chair or 2 blocks. So I say chair because almost everybody has a dining room chair or a chair, something, you probably don't have a yoga chair, but you might have a dining room chair. So usually that'll work, or a small stool or something. Whatever you use, you want to make sure it's not going to slide. You put it on the mat, all 4 legs on the mat. All right, so we're going to do a little lunging. And So if you wanted to use blocks, you could. If you have yoga props, feel free to use the blocks that you have. So I'm going to come again to the table. I'm going to move the blanket back a little bit. All right. And then on the inhale, I bring my hands to the chair and step my right foot forward so that the ankle is in front of the knee. Why? Because as I go, if I want to come up to the next pose, if my knee is forward, that for the next pose won't work. So we want, because that can hurt the knee. So we want the foot more forward of the ankle more forward of the knee. Good. All right, then from there, maybe that's a low lunge. And then if we want, we can bring the hands to the hips. You can also put your hands on your thigh. And the hands to the hips, shoulders back. All right, then, if that feels good, thumbs to the tops of the shoulders, which keeps your chest open and your shoulder blades on your back. Okay, keeping that, then you take your arms up, and this is now a low lunge with a little bit gentle back bend. Good, exhale, I can bring the hands either to here or to here, and I'm going to change legs. So right leg back, step the left leg forward. And again, can stay here, low lunge, and just being here and breathing is good. Or hands to the top of the left thigh, or hands to the hips. And once you have the hands to the hips with the elbows back, that opens up the chest, puts the shoulder blades on the back, puts you in a good place with your pelvis. That's here, yeah? All right, and then if you want, thumbs to the tops of the shoulders, arms up, stay there. This is low lunge back bend, Anjaneyasana. And if you want, you can go just a little deeper. And we're not, if you notice, we're not dropping the head back. Again, that's not good for the neck. So I just sort of look more forward. See what feels good to you. Exhale, hands back down to the chair and change legs. All right, so right leg comes forward again. Now, this is where you could have hands with, you didn't need the chair or the wall, okay, or blocks. You could just be down on the earth. But I'm demoing with some support because it just feels better for most people. All right, then as you're ready, straighten the left leg. And this is called high lunge, okay? You can stay here and take a few breaths. And that's when I can feel the stretch in my calf on this left leg and in my foot. Good, all right, then I come down, left leg down, change legs. All right, left leg forward, right leg is back. All right, and then you can stay low, especially if it's a little more difficult for you balance-wise, or if you're wearing prosthetics, you might not be able to come up fully from here. So whatever works for you, do. This is low lunge. That's high lunge. All right, oh, that just feels good. I walked a few miles today, so it always feels good to come in and do yoga afterwards. All right, so that's one side too. Change legs. All right, right leg is forward. Low lunge, stay there. Or high lunge, stay there. Or maybe if you have a chair or a wall, the hands can be on the wall, hands can be on the chair. Then maybe you take one arm up, you bring it down. You take the other arm up and bring it down. And if you want, both arms up. All right, and this is called crescent lunge or Alanasana. Good. Hands back down, left knee down, and let's change to the other side. Left leg forward. By the way, having this right knee back a little bit more and the left leg more forward, you may not be able to do that right away. But the more that you're able to do that, the more you're going to get the hamstrings to lengthen, the thighs, quads to strengthen, the lower legs to have more support and more length, and the stronger in your whole body. But don't do any more than what feels good when you're first starting out. All right. So coming up to the high lunge, and again, feel free to stay there, okay? Or take your hands to the top first if you'd like. One arm up, yes, bring it down. The other arm up, and then if you want to play, woohoo, yes, Alanasana, crescent lunge. Good, exhale, hands back down, right knee back down, left knee back down. All right, so now we're going to come to standing, to mountain pose. All right, so we've done some seated openers for joint mobility. We've done some lunges to start to get the legs and the hips open a little bit more. Now we're going to come to standing and do a few things on the chair before we finish for this initial segment. Okay, so one way that you can do it is that you start to shift the weight back into the legs. Walk your hands forward. Now, walk your hands up until you can put your hands on your hips. The worst way to come up is to do that and slowly roll up. That'll kill your back, and I have a little spinal stenosis. I would never do that. So you have your hands here. Then you can bring your hands to your hips. Now you notice my chest is up. I have my back in that same sort of semi-neutral curve from the table. All right, I'm going to simply press into the hips, lead with the heart, come all the way up, and that's safe. It's a safe way for your back, your hips, your legs to come to standing. Okay, so now, coming to standing, let's talk about mountain pose. The basic standing pose, actually the basic pose for all the poses. You want to have the energy of mountain pose and the alignment for the big joints, all the joints of the body, basically in line with this idea of mountain pose, that we keep the shoulders integrated, the arm bones into the shoulders, legs into the hips, and it's nice and secure. So mountain pose, the outer feet line up with the hips, the outer hips. It's usually pretty good. You'll see classic poses where it's like that, but for women and people who have a little more weight and age on them, that's not really good. So we take the feet a little wider, okay? Now, put your hands on your hips initially. That's going to take the elbows back and open up this chest space again. Right now, I'll show you from the side. Okay, good. All right, so now, most of us tend to be kind of here, all right? So that's all, the back is not working, front is all collapsed. So we want to lift and spread the toes. And then watch, let me put my hands right here at the tops of the thighs. I just want to push the thighs back but while still staying upright. So I lift and spread the toes, push the thighs back. That's putting weight in your heels, and it lines up the hip with the knee with the ankle. And you'll feel the back of your legs if you're doing this. You'll feel that the back of the legs engaged. They're not used to that. This is really cool. Also lines up the shoulder, the hip, the knee, and the ankle. And if I were looking forward, the ear would line up too, right? And that's pretty much it. So once you lift and spread your toes, take the thighs back a little bit, not like that, okay? You're standing upright, you just take the thighs back and you shift weight to the heels. It's going to take a while to get the feel for this. Okay, and then, by having done that, all right, turn your palms facing backwards. And as you inhale, turn your whole arm open by turning your palms forward. That's going to open up the chest a little more, keep the weight in the heels, and then just let your hands relax. Mountain pose. All right, that's the bit, and you can put your toes down there. I tend to sort of keep them up because I'm hypermobile, and so for me, to keep the energy going, oftentimes I keep the toes lifted, but you don't have to do that. Huh? All right, now, I'm going to show you downward facing dog using the wall. This is my wall. We're going to use the chair as a wall. So we did lunges, now we're going to do downward facing dog. All right, so I come into the chair in my mountain pose. Hands can talk to the top, hold the top of the chair. And I'm going to step back about a foot, 14 inches, 16 inches, you can see. All right, now, I keep the toes active, the feet active, lift and spread the toes. Knees soft, do not lock your knees back. That'll kill your knees over time, and it tightens your hamstrings and your thighs. Yeah, not strengthens, tightens. All right, then you're gonna hinge right here at the hip crease. You can even take your hands, turn your palms upwards. Place the palms where the legs and the leg meets the trunk. There's softness in there. Those are your groins. There are lots of muscles that flex and extend the hips and the legs, yeah? All right, so then we're gonna press into the tops of the thighs and come back, hinging at the hips. And that's your downward facing dog at the wall, okay, or on the chair. If you wanted to go a little deeper forward then, you could step back a little more, and you're coming to what we call L pose, all right? And so L pose, not letting the head hang. You got the head lined up with the spine, and your arms are forward, and this is L pose. This is a great pose. If my hands were on the wall, I would have them just a little higher. All right, from here you can do lunge again. Right leg forward, straight leg lunge. You can play with that crescent lunge here. You can step back to downward facing dog, holding the top of the chair, what we call wall dog or L pose. They're similar, but not exactly the same. Then I'll step this left foot forward, and I can bend the left knee. And now, here we go. Crescent lunge, whoops, side two. Good, exhale, hands down. And once again, we'll step back to downward facing dog. All right, then walk into the chair. And that's sort of a basic joint warm-up, range of motion warm-up, some basic things for the legs and the spine for strengthening. And I think that's what we're going to do today for just this basic introduction. And then I'll keep adding more videos so that we can go deeper into things. And you can add to your skills and abilities for doing gentle yoga and feeling more comfortable in your body and being. So let's just finish up by coming back down to the mat. And again, I'm going to sit on my blanket. Cross your shins, once again, opening your hip. So what this does, just very briefly, so if I'm like that, you're gonna open the hip. You're really taking it out and back and setting it down. It's dramatic, but it really works to open up the hips and support the back, okay? All right, so then once you're here, let's just bring the hands back to the thighs. And just close or soften your eyes for just a moment. You just want to quiet things down. We finished up with standing poses. So just take a few minutes just to notice your heart rate beat, your breath. And as you sit and breathe, please bring your palms together at your heart center. So we're slowing down as we sit. Things begin to quiet a little bit. And then release your hands, open your eyes, and just for a second, if you're able to come down, if not, you sit like that. If you're able to come down onto your back, use your hands and your forearms to lower yourself down. Don't just plop down. And come on down to the earth with your knees bent. And if you can't get to the ground, you can sit like we just were a second ago with your hands at your heart. If you can come to the ground, you can hold around the fronts or the backs of the knees and just rock a little bit, just gently side to side. This rocking motion is calming to the body. Good, then come on back. Place one palm on the top of each kneecap, fingertips pointed towards the feet, and then relax your lower legs and let the weight of your knees lengthen your arms. And this is just a passive back tractioning. It's very quieting, it's very grounding. And you just take a few breaths here. And then you can release the knees, place the feet on the floor. This is called constructive rest, and just take a few breaths here. And then slowly roll to your side. Keep rolling the upper body towards the earth. Press your hands into the earth to bring you back up and come back as your neighbors who aren't able to lie down. You come back and sit up again. Open your hips one more time and bring your hands to your heart. So everybody has hands at the heart now. Just notice how it feels to sit and to breathe, and hopefully you feel a little more grounded, a little more, what I like to say is energized, calm. That you feel calm, and yet you don't feel worn out. You feel alive. And that's a good thing. So let's close our class by enjoying our time together, and we'll close with one Om. And again, you may simply listen if you'd like. Otherwise, please exhale fully and then inhale fully. And then exhale fully one more time, and then after your next inhale, please join me. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. And namaste means when the light in me meets the light in you, we honor our interconnectedness and our oneness. So, namaste, y'all. And thank you so much for coming today. And hope to see you in the Zoom room again soon. Bye.